Welcome back to Real Community Talks, where we meet with micro-level influencers doing macro-level things. I can't lie, we don't have a micro-level influencer. I could never call her that.
I was wondering about that.
I'm your host, Matt De Silva, and on today's episode, we have her worship, my good friend, but also the mayor of the greatest city in the world,
Absolutely.
Mississauga, Mayor Bonnie Crombie on the show. It is an absolute pleasure to have you come out to the RCT studio, aka my living room today. This is how dope this mayor is. She came to chill in my living room and talk.
Hey, I came to Malton. That's my hood too.
Exactly. So for those two waste people that have no idea who Bonnie is, and if you don't, I don't know like what you're doing with your life. But of course, she's the mayor of the city of Mississauga, which, like I said, is the greatest city in the world. Was the former Ward 5 city councillor for Malton. I believe Britannia was included in them back then. Was a member of parliament for Mississauga-Streetsville. Before her public service, she had a 20-year career in business, working for global businesses including McDonalds, the Insurance Bureau of Canada, and the Walt Disney Company. That's interesting. Before her public career, she was an entrepreneur who started a makeup company known as Cargo Cosmetics. Has an MBA with Schulich at York U, a BA from U of T in International Relations, and earned a corporate director certificate from the Institute of Corporate Directors at the Rotman School of Management. Was a volunteer board member of Arts Umbrella, a member of Peel Regional Police Services Board, and led the way to ending carding, aka street checks. That's dope. Was awarded the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal for her work in the community. And among many other things, she is a loving mother and has raised 3 children, Alex, Jonathan, and Natasha in Mississauga. Loves being outside and is active and is a rock climbing enthusiast and is still an active community advocate. Passionate about regional integrated transit, affordable housing, economic development, innovation, and creating a more inclusive and engaging city. I'm sure you are so much more than what I said, but was that accurate at all?
It was perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool,
The only
cool.
other board I sit on is the electricity distributor Electra.
Nice.
So I sit on the Electra board
Oh,
and the
true.
police services board, in addition to all the other stuff.
True.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a little bit about you, but to get a bit more deeper, what's your origin story? Who is Bonnie Crombie? Where are you from?
That's so great. Thanks for this opportunity. So I am Polish and Ukrainian by background. My mother and grandparents immigrated from Poland, actually through France after the Second World War, where my grandfather had served in the Polish division of the French army, and they came to Canada for new life. Many people, of course, chose Canada as the place for new beginnings, to fulfill their dreams, to raise their children, as my parents did as well. My father's people had come a little earlier, but they were also Polish. My grandmother was Ukrainian, because we were from a part of Poland where the border shifted all the time. So sometimes it was Ukraine, Russia, sometimes it was Poland, sometimes it was Germany. So Poland was partitioned for 100 years. So we came, and we were very simple people. We lived around the Polish church in the Ronsonsville's area. My grandfather was a janitor at the Globe and Mail for 40 years. We lived in a rooming house. Very simple beginnings. My mother worked. She and my biological dad split early, and we didn't have money to go to dinner or for holidays. We didn't have a car, but it didn't matter. We took the streetcar, the Red Rocket in Toronto. And I didn't miss anything. I had loving family around me, and there were wonderful people and a great community around me. And mom remarried, and we moved to Etobicoke, and I grew up just on the Mississauga border in Markland Woods in Etobicoke, and went to high school there. I went to St. Joe's Michael Power, a good Catholic girl, and then St. Mike's College at U of T. Yep, and then later on to Schulich for MBA, and then the ICD, which is a corporate director's degree at Rotman, as you said.
Wow.
So we're like immigrants, like most of the people in Mississauga who chose Canada, as we talked about, and I think I had a very humble upbringing, and I think it really grounded me. My grandparents and my mother taught me about the value of education and hard work, which there's no substitute for hard work.
It's true.
The harder you work, the luckier you become too. Go figure, right? The luck falls your way when you work hard. I found that out too, because I do apply myself very hard, because I have to fulfill their legacy. They gave up a lot to come here, and they left their families and lives behind in Poland and then France. And they're counting on me. I was an only child, so all the dreams have to be fulfilled right here nonstop.
So true.
When I was elected a member of parliament, I was invited to get same sort of kind of interview. Let's get to know the newest member of parliament, Mississauga-Streetsville, by Power and Politics. And the studio was in the bottom floor of the Globe and Mail building. But when I walked in the Globe and Mail, I stopped dead in my tracks and I started to cry because there was all that brass my grandfather polished, all those floors he mopped, all that marble he cleaned, and he used to talk about it. And he was there for 40 years. And I thought, wow, 40 years the janitor's granddaughter walks in as the member of parliament for Mississauga-Streetsville. So that was a tough interview. I was a bit teary. It was wonderful, though.
So one thing that I think people sometimes see with politicians in general is like they have this career and then they go into politics kind of like as an extension of that. But maybe people don't know about your early community activist days and how involved you were and how like that was some of like the foundational roots to where you are today. So talk a bit about that, how you got involved.
Absolutely. So for me, people always ask me, when did you get involved in politics? And I always say, well, I've always been involved in politics, starting in youth politics. I just had this drive to help make change, positive change in our community. And I believed you did it at the grassroots. And I always believed politics was a noble profession. People went into politics because they wanted to make change. They wanted to make their communities better. They wanted to make their cities better, their countries better, depending on the level of government. So, I mean, I got involved, and I'll be honest, in the Liberal Party early days, and always knocked on doors for other candidates, put up signs, dropped brochures, did it all, sat on Young Liberal executive boards, and always, but as my career grew and as I had a family, you cut back a little bit, but still was involved in all the leadership races, and usually my local candidate I would go and give a hand to at election time. So I've always been involved, but I have to be honest, I never really saw myself as the candidate. I had a business career and I was very happy in working in business and didn't really see myself as a candidate. But eventually people came knocking on my door saying, you've got great grassroots experience, you're a business person, you understand politics, you're a mom, we love your values, we love the kind of things you do in the community, you should really consider running. And it took a couple times. So I was asked to run provincially in the early 2000s. And I didn't. And I helped the candidate that was eventually selected, who I recommended, by the way. I got a great guy for you. He'll be perfect, blah, blah, blah. And he did go on to win on an election night as we're scrutineering, counting ballots. I thought, that could have been me. That could have been me. So then it planted the seed in my head. And so the second time I was asked federally, I said, you know what? Maybe it is my time. It's my time. I took some time off to raise kids. I was a community volunteer, sitting on boards. I was very involved in the community and consulting on the side. I thought, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for me again, and I can give back. So when the second time, I wasted no time. Started organizing, and that federal nomination in 2007, ran in 2008, was successful.
Wow, that's awesome. One thing that I love about just generally in the city of Mississauga, like you included, and even Chief Evans, is that we have such powerful and awesome female leadership.
We do.
Like even within the city of Mississauga org structure, like city manager and directors and all that kind of stuff, from top down, you see how females are just breaking that glass ceiling and excelling. And not just because of like a male female thing, because they're awesome people. And I love how you've been able to just like spearhead that and just show people that anything's possible. And the reason I say that is because you recently went to the International Women's Day breakfast, and I think it was
we hosted it.
Yeah. You hosted it. Sorry. And you were talking about balance for better, and you were talking about how you believe you can have it all, but not at the same time.
I said that, did I?
I love that quote. Explain that more.
Well, let me also just put into context our philosophy at the City of Mississauga, because I do believe in tone at the top as well. So we're a meritocracy. So everyone has a chance to succeed. If you do the work, you prove yourself, you become successful. And that's why so many women rise to the top, right? So they prove themselves. Women do work hard. We're able to juggle a lot of things. We got our parents we look after, kids we look after, our work, we're very dedicated. Sometimes women women need to go home, help their kids with the homework, get them to their activities, make dinner, throw a load of wash in the laundry, fold it all up, put it away, and then sit back down and finish what they were working on, right? That's how women operate. That's how we roll, right, as women. And so, yes, our city manager, our city solicitor, our legal advisor, our clerk, half my council is women, right? We're 6 out of 12 are women. Same at the region. Many of our directors, none of our commissioners. We did have one of the commissioners. She's gone, but they're all in the ranks coming up. So we promote based on talent. Based on talent and expertise. And when you look across the city, we had Jennifer Evans. She's now retired. Michelle DeManuel runs our hospital network, Trillium Hospital Network, right? Anita Stillinger runs the United Way in Peel. We have women in positions of power and authority right across the city. So it's a city that embraces women. So every year we host an International Women's Day breakfast, and I invite 2 grade 12 female students from every high school in Mississauga. I'd love to invite more, but it's a capacity issue. And then we invite mentors. So the council members are invited, school trustees, so cool. Business community leaders to sit at all the tables, to sit with the girls, and then we brainstorm. We give them topics to talk about. And then this year's, of course, was better balance, right, in career and in life, and more balance. And balance is tough to achieve. I won't suggest that it's not. Myself, I'm not very good at balance. I work a lot. I actually have to schedule time off that I want time off. If I want a night off, I have to let my schedulers know. I need to go to a personal function, a family dinner, a wedding that night or that Saturday. And I need to book that. Otherwise, I'm on the clock, because there's no shortage of people who want me to attend their events, their openings, their ribbon cuttings, their banquets, some cultural or religious celebration. I'm always there for the community, and it's wonderful. But I do put my heart and soul in it, because I love it so much, and I love Mississauga, so it shines, right? And I try to give everything 100%. So I had a great career. After I had my 3rd child, I thought, this just isn't working. 3 kids and a corporate career, right? I worked for some great companies. I'd worked for Walt Disney. I'd worked for McDonalds Corporation in the U.S. I had 5 states, 19 company stores. I was managing all their marketing for them. And then I was working for Insurance Bureau of Canada. I left Insurance Bureau to help two of the women that I went to business school with. I did an MBA with, to start Cargo Cosmetics. And I had my 3rd child, and I thought, wow, this is just too much. And so after 2 years with Cargo, and we moved to Vancouver for a brief period for my husband's career, I had to step back. I had to step back and focus on them for a while, and get involved in the community and sit on boards. And I did do some consulting, so I was still earning a little bit of income. But keep your hand in it, because it's hard to go back if you don't keep your hand in it, right? So I always knew I would go back, but I wanted to give my kids a fair shake. And then when it came time, I did come back to the workforce in a big way. I started managing. I managed a mayoral campaign in Toronto. I was on Michael Ignatio's leadership team. So, and then it came time to, Bonnie, we want you to be a candidate. And I'm like, all right, this time I'm there. This time I'm there. And I organized. And I must say I had the freshest list, because I had just been on the leadership campaign. And so I knew who to call, and I knew how to organize people around me. And there were 7 of us, and I won on the first ballot with 70% of them. So pretty good turnout. Yeah, pretty good showing. I became a member of parliament. It was an honor, a privilege. You want to know about balance? I'm talking about my career again. So I told the girls, I did step back from a corporate world, and then I did go on to a political career. It was kind of a change in direction, really, for me, right? After I went into politics after business. So it would have been hard. It would have been hard. And that's why you see a lot of women, what they do, if they're doctors, lawyers, even executives in companies, often they leave the corporate world or the busy partner track in a law firm for flexibility. They start companies themselves. You see women start more companies than men do, because they do it for flexibility. They don't like the long hours that you have to work if you're like a senior executive in a company, and all the travel and what happens to the kids. So they start businesses, and allows them flexibility to manage their careers, but manage their kids. And at my age, it's managing aging parents too, right? My mom just had hip replacement surgery. I'm in and out of her place. When she first brought her home, I went and lived with her for a little while, make sure she was comfortable and getting along. So, we do it for flexibility. Not that women can't succeed if they choose to. Of course they can. Of course they can. But also it's undeniable that the world still relies on us for the greater share of the domestic stuff, the house, the kids, etc. Even though, many husbands today, they do share in all the responsibilities. I think women feel like it's their responsibility number one.
Yeah, and maybe it's shifting that culture, hopefully, that as time goes on, it's like a more balanced approach, right? Even in the roles of the family, right?
And I'll also say that that's why I entered politics a little later too. I really wanted to have some sort of expertise to bring to the table to say, okay, I'm specialist in this. So you see nurses or teachers going into provincial politics because they understand the healthcare industry or they understand the education system. They know how they want to improve it, so they go into provincial politics. Same with federal. They have idea how they want to change the immigration system or finances or the environment, so they go into federal government. So I always thought that I wanted to have an expertise that I brought to the table. Before I ran in politics. So that's why I waited till later. And my kids were older. Yeah. They could manage without their mom.
For sure. Yeah. So you were just mentioning about this idea about how people want to go into provincial politics to maybe affect policy or change at that kind of level. But one thing that I highly agree with you is that cities are the engines that drive the economy. And one thing I've always loved about even just serving in my community is I feel like you have more of an influence, like that's more qualitative, I guess you can say, than just like that broader impact.
We're closest to the people.
It's true.
No matter what change people want, they come to their municipal councillor, their mayor first.
It's true.
How many calls I get for visas? I said, no, you have to go to your federal member.
Yeah. It's true. Like I'll be like working at the community center at the front desk, and I'm just like loading a Presto card, and they're like, yeah, there's a pothole outside, and I'm just like, okay, I'll call Works, but I'm like, it's like that you are the
front line. You are the front line for the people, for every level of government.
It's true. Yeah. So for those people who don't maybe understand what cities actually do, like the breadth of all you guys do, like what are we covering? Why are, when they're mad about property tax, like what does that go into and the things that covers?
Well, we've been doing some surveying, and we know that people are very happy with the amount of property taxes that we charge them because they understand the value they get, and we are very fiscally responsible in Mississauga. Yeah. We actually, our property tax increases are lower than the GTA average. That's awesome. It really is. I mean, Toronto's lower because they have other taxation tools. They have other revenue tools. Yeah. Like they have the vehicle registration tax and the land transfer tax, and so that all goes into their general revenue. So their increase percentage isn't as high. Brampton's higher, but this year they froze it, and we'll get into why that is a little bit later, because I know you want to talk about the regional governance. But let me say that cities are the engines. It's where the vast majority, 70% of Canadians live in a municipality, a town, a city. And it's interesting, cities own 66% of Canada's infrastructure. Think about it. That's 2/3 of all the infrastructure cities own. Yet, we collect 10 cents on the total tax dollar.
That's crazy.
So we're very efficient deliverers of programs and services. 10 cents, right? Yeah. When you look at the total tax dollar, your federal revenue, your income tax, your provincial tax, and then your property tax, you add that all up, we get 10 cents of the dollar. So we're very efficient managers as well. So in a nutshell, cities build roads, bridges, sewers, right? We do all the infrastructure stuff, provide transit, public transit, and of course at the region of Peel, we do the bigger infrastructure projects. It's a good segue for you probably. The big pipes projects and the infrastructure like the water treatment plants. Yeah. And we do waste management. And I mentioned Peel Police. We do some housing at the region, subsidized housing, social services programs. We do dental care for seniors. Those are the kinds of programs that are run at the region of Peel. Yeah. But at the city, largely, I forgot, are very proud of our firefighters, right? Yeah. So firefighters are at the city, My Way Transit. So you can see that this is very labor intensive. Most of my costs, 60% of my costs at the city are labor, just because we have 5,000 employees, plus the My Way employees, plus fire employees, and at the region police we have 2,000 police officers as well, right? So we're very proud of that. So we build your infrastructure, we build your community centers, libraries, rinks, recreation centers.
Yeah.
So that's what we do in a nutshell, and we provide. But of course, we pick up your waste.
Yeah.
We pick up your leaf collection in the leafy parts of town, the areas where tree covers, snow removal, and we're going to have a long talk about windrows and sidewalks because I know there was some dissatisfaction because we had a lot of snow and a lot of ice this year, and I think we can look at ways of doing it better, but unfortunately there's always a price tag. I can pick up your windrow, I can clear your sidewalks, but it will cost you more on your tax bill. So there's always that trade-off. How badly do you really want it?
Yeah, it's true.
Because at the end of the day, it goes on the tax bill.
There's a saying that says like it's the little foxes that spoil the vine, and it's sometimes the little things like the windrow or like the garbage, but they're the most important things because if those things are off, your whole day is off. Right?
There you go.
And you guys provide that daily living coverage that people, and this is what this is just my own personal opinion, is why I like voting for municipal elections more than I do provincial and federal, because let's be honest, there's a few things at play. People are they'll see a red or a blue sign and just naturally I'm like, I want to vote for the blue sign. It's so arbitrary. Two, they're voting for just like a party, and I understand how that dynamic works,
or the party leader, right?
But when you're voting municipally, you're voting for the person. Exactly.
100%.
And you need to be knowledgeable about that. And it's just like, I just want to encourage like young people. Like I myself was there on elections day, and I have to be honest, from the polling station I was at, it's like a lot of seniors and adults, and maybe like a few, you could probably tell are like university college students.
Correct.
But it's like those
that their parents called up and said, get out here to vote.
Exactly. But it's like, how do we get kids to vote though?
29% of people voted, of voters, 29% in Mississauga. It's so low.
Yeah.
Now, why? I don't know the answer, but I will say that certainly people are satisfied with their governance in Mississauga. So they're like, oh, Bonnie Crombie's been a good mayor. My councillor's a good councillor. They're going to win. I don't need to. Because we both know that people vote out of government. You don't vote in a government. So when they're happy, they tend to stay home.
That's true.
That's unfortunate because we want people to exercise their civil and democratic right, which is to vote. We want that strong mandate. I wanted that strong mandate to say, yeah, we support you. But I sort of got it in reverse by people staying home. If they were upset, they would have come out. That's what I like to think. But I have a great council. They work very hard. And so they all got reelected, except for the two wards that, of course, Jim Tovey passed away. He had a replacement, and Nando retired. He's become regional chair now. Nando retired, and it allowed Deepika Demirla to run in his seat, and she won. And now Nando is the regional chair.
Wow, that's awesome. So there's no doubt that Mississauga is growing and it's thriving, and even in the political blind date, which was an awesome. You guys better check it out. We'll drop it in the description. But you were even showing like the waterfront and the piers and the development that's going to be happening. So with it's no doubt that Mississauga can thrive on its own, and it could be it doesn't need people to be lashed onto something. But the hot topic right now is the separation from the region of Peel. I've always associated Mississauga as its own, but then it's like the region of Peel is like an extension and something that's kind of like a club they belong to. So talk to people about like who have anxiety about that, because I know some people are like, is property taxes gonna raise? Are we still gonna have Peel police? What about waste? And like, what's the benefit of going towards there, and what should people be aware of?
So let me tell you that, I travel internationally. I'm asked to be a speaker at many conferences. I engage with other mayors, whether across Ontario, across Canada, even internationally. I was our representative in Washington at the Conference of Mayors across the U.S. and Washington.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we talk about, our budgets and what we're responsible for. And in the U.S., the mayors actually have education and health that we don't have, which is fine with me. But, there are certain aspects of my job that I don't control that they do, like housing and water, wastewater, policing. I don't control any of that because it's at the region of Peel. So a lot of this is, hey, Mississauga is a big city. We're well run. We're well managed. We should have the ability to govern our own affairs. When myself, my council, we make a decision, we shouldn't have to go to the region appeal to redebate it to get their approval. level. Because look, Brampton, Caledon, they have their own priorities. So they may not agree that this should be a priority for them just because it's a Mississauga priority, right? A planning priority. Maybe they don't want to invest a bunch of money in the redevelopment of our downtown community plan. And the region's been ignoring our community improvement plan in our downtown because they don't want to have responsibility for it.
Yeah.
We want to incentivize office building down there. They don't want to have anything to do with it. So when am I going to get that done? How am I going to get that done? We have two cities in a municipality that are different sizes, different stages in their growth and development, and are fundamentally different in their character, in their uniqueness, and in their history. Look, Mississauga is a mature city.
It is. Yeah.
You know, we have infrastructure issues. I got to build public transit. I want to build affordable housing for people. There's lots of things I want to do. And I've got to pay for infrastructure. I've got revenue issues. I don't want to increase property taxes. I got to be creative. Brampton's they're where Mississauga was 25 years ago, building out. They still have Greenfield.
Yeah.
They're building out, Mississauga building up. Caledon, beautiful, beautiful town, beautiful municipality, Greenbelt.
Yeah.
They're resisting growth and they're beautiful up there. But look, you combine these three, you can see the opportunity for conflict, right? Yeah. Now, then there's the money issue. Let's be very, very clear here.
Yeah.
You know, we've been paying for their growth. We transfer $85 million,
wow.
$85 million each and every year to Brampton and Caledon through the Region of Peel. We pay 60% of the freight, the tax bill at the Region of Peel. Mississauga pays 60% of the rate at the Region of Peel. And we only have 50% of the vote. Brampton and Caledon combined can almost outvote us. That's why we have stalemates a lot of the time. So my mantra is, we should control our own destiny. Definitely. Why do I have to go to Mayor Brown or Mayor Thompson and say, please, can you support this because it's good for the people of Mississauga? I shouldn't have to do that cap in hand. Come on, folks. I want to make those decisions right at the Mississauga table. I want all those commissioners. I want to bring public works and water, whatever, at one table, housing, so we can have a full discussion, have everybody at the table what's best for our city rather than go up there and have this debate with Caledon and Brampton. So there's fundamental unfairness. The system is broken when we're relying on Mississauga taxpayers to fund the Region of Peel, 60% of the cost. And we don't even have our fair share, our fair say. All pay, no say. 50% of the vote, right? Now, I understand Mayor Brown saying, oh, they contributed to our growth. That's fundamentally false. False. They've been contributing 35 cents on the dollar the entire time we've been in the Region of Peel. They don't pay for, as he was describing, the water treatment plant down at the lakefront. Development charges pay for that. DCs pay for that. Developers pay for that. Once you have a new community being built, those developers, we really hit on them to pay for growth. You want a new community, you put in the sewers, you put in the road, you put in all that servicing, you put in the money, put the DCs in so I can build the waste treatment plant that you're going to need. Developers have paid through DCs, all those things he's talking about. What I'm talking about is incremental. It's additional money, $85 million every year that largely go to Peel Police. So we pay for Brampton's policing and we pay for regional roads. We pay for all the regional roads. So in Caledon, most of the roads are regional roads. In Mississauga, less than 30% are regional roads, yet we pay 60% of the freight. Crazy. So I always say to people, you know what? Go up to Caledon and drive on the roads. They're beautiful. You paid for them.
You know what this reminds me of? Like, as soon as you were talking about this, it's like when Trudeau patriated the Constitution. It's like, so we can make our own decisions and not be attached to Britain.
We want to be our own decisions. Things are going to move around a little bit for sure. But when I look at other cities, Windsor, London, Guelph, Thunder Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Hamilton, they're all single tier. Why would Mississauga, that is the third largest city in Ontario, Toronto, Ottawa, Mississauga, sixth largest in Canada, why do I have to go up to the Region of Peel and say, please support this because it's good for Mississauga? We want to make our own decisions, govern ourselves, control our own destiny, and keep that $85 million and reinvest it in Mississauga priorities.
And I like what you said too. Like you said, you know, obviously the priority is making sure that people understand and that there's a smooth transition. And I like how you said you're going to be creative, but like I think people also need to understand that with every new, you know, thing that you want to try to do, there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be a transitional period. Like we can't expect things to happen for $0 all the time. We got to be
Right.
creative, right?
Right.
But I think for me personally, and I'm speaking for myself, I think I'm confident in you guys and you yourself in being able to manage that transition. Like we look at the plans and the vision for the city like 20 years from now, and it's gonna require that independence and that agency just to do your own thing, right? So we got to go through that period, but it's inevitable, right?
So don't forget, this is a campaign that Hazel started in 2003, 15 years ago. One city, one voice.
Yeah.
So we could have done it then. Brampton can do it today. We can do it today.
Yeah.
Now, we weren't successful then because there wasn't the political will at the province. At the end of the day, cities are a creature of the province.
It's
we
true.
actually not even in any legislation. We're under provincial legislation.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's because the Premier Ford, said he wanted to look at regional governance across 9 different regions to ensure they were being efficient, because he's all about efficiencies, right? So are we being efficient? And we're saying in Mississauga, we're not being efficient. And thank you for allowing us the opportunity to make our case. So will this change? The answer is we don't know. We don't know. It's his decision, not ours.
Yeah.
And, we're hearing amalgamation. God forbid. Nobody wants that. Bramptonians don't want it either.
Yeah.
Mississaugans don't want it. We want to be our own city.
We have our own identity.
We have
right?
our own identity. We have a different history. We're different people, right? The demographics are different. We're different. Anyways, but he is looking at the regional governments and how efficient it is. There may be communities where it makes sense. Niagara, maybe it makes sense there. I'm just pulling them out of the hat. I don't know. Maybe York, Durham, but not in Peel. Not in Peel, but we look forward to the decision. Their advisors are handing in their report to the Premier in June, and we know that sometime in this legislative session coming up, we will hear the result.
For sure. So I'm sure, obviously, like it's nothing to hide, because you are the successor to former Mayor Hazel McCallion. People probably remind you of her legacy and that dynasty that she had, and rightfully so. You talk about her mentorship and her leadership, and ultimately that endorsement that you got, right? So with that in mind, coming right off of that dynasty that she held, how does this pressure of legacy affect your decision making and leadership choices? Because I'll be honest, it's for me and even some positions, it's not easy. Like when my predecessors have told me, like, okay, now you have to fill these shoes.
There you go. You have big shoes to fill. I hear that every day.
How does that affect
So first, let me say how much I love Hazel McCallion, and we all do. I mean, she's iconic, beloved. She really grew this city, stewarded it with her vision for 36 years as leader. And this is a city we all were born and raised. Well, I chose to live in. Many people choose. You probably were born and raised here. I chose it to raise my kids and to live in. And she did a incredible job. Now, I just see that I have the opportunity to write our next chapter, right? What will Mississauga look like? That was his first 40 years. We're 45 years old now. What will we look like in the next 40?
True.
Like, we're going to be 50 years old in about 5 years' time. So what will the next 40 years look like? What will Mississauga do? How will it take shape? And that's the incredible privilege I have along with my council on defining that, on where the growth will be, what it will look like, how many towers there will be in the downtown. And I will tell you, there are 25 breaking ground in the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
It's a lot, right? It'll be very dense in the downtown, but not in other communities. We only put density where it makes sense, and we put it along transit corridors. We'll be building light rail train, along here, Ontario. That'll be awesome. We've got to get the population numbers up on our bus transit way, which runs parallel to the 403. It's there. It connects Airport Corporate Center, Meadowvale area, all the way to the Airport Corporate Center, takes people to Kipling or to the airport. It's wonderful, but we got to get the usage up.
Yeah.
We don't have the vehicular, we don't have the passengers yet, but it's growing.
Yeah.
It's growing. Yeah. And then we know that 60,000 people ride buses on here, Ontario. And that's why we're going to have trains on here, Ontario, LRT, because instead of 50 people on a bus, you can take 200 on a train. We'll get people out of the car. We'll move people faster, better. It'll be wonderful. And then I look at the development on the waterfront. We're building livable, walkable communities, places where people live, work, and play, they have recreation. We have Lakeview, 250 acres. They're building 67 back to the city, right on the water.
Yeah.
They're looking at us globally to see what we're going to put there. Livable, walkable community. It's going to be fantastic with district energy and new methods for waste collection. Wow. All the new technology. It's going to be fantastic. Some high rise, but the community is having input. They don't want a lot of density there. They want more mid-rise, low-rise, right? It'll be a mixture of everything, mixed-use community. And then on the other side of Mississauga Road, the same, a little bit smaller, former oil refinery, right? Depending how old Texaco oil lands, Imperial oil lands that were there, being cleaned, remediated. So we're reclaiming brownfield, we're revitalizing land, 72 acres. Again,
That's awesome.
mixed-use community. So we have Ninth Line lands, the same. All along here, Ontario is changing because of the LRT. So this is the opportunity I have. But what kind of city do you want to be? What kind of people do you want to be? My biggest concern is transit and affordability of housing, particularly on Lakeshore. I'm putting all these communities in, and we know there's gridlock on Lakeshore now. What are we going to do? I got to fix that. The time to start talking about fixing it is now, before all the buildings get built and the housing gets built, right? And then what about housing? Let me tell you, we are the only municipality in Canada that has come up with a plan for housing for the middle class, making room for the middle.
Wow.
Subsidized housing Region Appeal is dealing with, and maybe we'll deal with in the future if we're so lucky to be our own city. But we're dealing with housing for the middle class. We want more than a third, 35% of all housing built in the future to be affordable for the middle class. What's middle class? Families, family income, 80 to 100,000, right? That they can afford houses that cost $250,000 to $500,000, like housing that's affordable. And by affordable, I don't mean 450 square feet. I mean, 4 or 5 bedrooms so that we can have children, families live there, right? So that's what we want. We don't want to push people out of Mississauga. We want you to live here and work here. I see one of my main jobs is continue to attract new employment, attract business here, business investment. So we create prosperity, we create jobs, opportunity for people. So I want them to work here, but I also want them to live here, not just work here. So that's what our council is very committed to, ensuring that housing is affordable in the future.
For sure. So we talked a bit about, public and private life, but I kind of want to just flesh that out a little bit more. So obviously you are the mayor of Mississauga, but you're also a mom and you're a family person. So one thing I always thought about was like when President Obama, became president, it's like his kids went to a concert and then it's like the news is following them everywhere. So like, how does that dynamic play with your kids? Like, what do your kids say to you now? Or like, do they have to switch up how they act? How does that work?
That's a great question. Well, so let me tell you that my kids are also very interested in politics. They've all been engaged in youth politics and are very engaged in their schools, their universities, and in our community. I have a son who's 29, he's soon to be 30. He's doing MBA at Ivy School at Western. Wow. Very proud of him. He's done great stuff. He worked for the provincial government for a little while in an investment firm. My other son just graduated law school, and he's working on his, doing his articling, doing bar ads, and becoming a lawyer. Plus he does some communications consulting, and he's always been involved. He probably most involved in politics from the three of them. My daughter was a little bit younger, but certainly very interested, and she's doing, she did a minor in political science at Western University, but now is also doing the undergraduate business program at Ivy at Western. So she's about to graduate from a double minor poli-sci and business. So she's well on her way. She even has a full-time job. So she's the youngest one, first time off the payroll. Good for you, Natasha. So they've just grew up in a household where there was lively family debate at Sunday dinners. For a long time in their lives, their mother was around picking them up, taking them to their activities, making sure they did their homework, and challenging them on issues, on what would they do, what do they think is important. So we were always having family discussions about issues, not about TV shows and movies, but about things going on in the world. They love U.S. politics too. We'd always talk about what the president said today, what was the tweet. But even before this president, they were very interested in Obama and Clinton before him, and history in the U.S. And of course, me being Polish by background, and they want to know about their history. And we talk about a lot about European politics. So, there's a lot of talk about world issues, global issues, local issues. So, that's was my priority as a mom, making sure they were well-defined young people that cared about their cities and cared about important things, not just what was on TV.
Yeah, for sure.
Or sports scores. I mean, the boys like sports, of course.
So obviously, like you are busy and you have a busy workload and you're doing many things, and naturally your role is pouring out into people and giving of you. But where do you find time just for Bonnie? Because like, I mean, like, you know, I always say that it's hard to work out of like a physical and emotional deficit, because it's hard to give out of emptiness, right? So like, where do you recharge? What do you do? What does that look like for you?
So that's a tough one because I give work 100%. So I really have to ask to book off time when I need time. Sometimes I have to go see the grade 5 students, the grade 11 students that do civics, and they ask me, you know, what are your hours?
Yeah. 24/7.
Well, pretty much 24/7. I'm not a person who can turn their phone off at night because disasters don't happen always in the daytime. If something happens in the evening, I have to hear about it, and they'll call me or text me. So if I need time off, I find that my day is slower around 4 to 6. So I use that to get some of my personal errands done, pick up my dry cleaning, that kind of thing, get my hair, whatever, you know, just do the errand, grocery shop, things I need to get done. But if I have a family wedding or a family dinner, I actually have to book it and say, okay, Saturday night, I'm sorry, I have family plans.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll be multitude of banquets to attend, or
true.
cultural festivals or whatever it is, business openings. So I pretty much work every day unless I ask for time off.
Wow.
What do I like to do? I'm very active. I love to do a lot of reading, but I don't have a lot of time because I have a lot of binders to read.
Yeah.
But I'm very active. So yes, you already know that I like to do physical things like skiing and playing tennis, and I do some kind of extreme sports like rock climbing and hiking.
That's cool.
I was recently on a trip and went hiking and horseback riding and rock climbing, and I do climbing. So you know, you need that to clear your head and really focus on different things.
It's true. Get you out of your elements sometimes. Like even for myself, like I tell my guests that I quit my full-time job recently and just had a season of just rest and relaxation, especially after my master's, just to recharge, right? And just, you know what, I was always that guy that always wanted to have a plan, and I'm always trying to go from height to height, but I'm like, I'm just striding instead of always striving, and just at a certain normal pace, and just just enjoying. I mean, right after high school, I went to 7 years of post-secondary. So it's like I didn't really enjoy those years because you're so like working full time. I did a podcast, was doing my master's, and it's like so overwhelming. Now I can I'll just chill with my dog and watch Netflix, and that's just me. But I enjoy it, you know. Right? It's self-care for me.
Yeah, I watch Netflix too. Sometimes late at night.
Favorite show. What's your favorite Netflix show?
Well, I was just finished Outlander. I love Outlander, and I'm a little bit older, so I like Grace and Frankie. You know, I like historical things, so I watched all The Crown and Reign, Reign, and The Tudors and the Medicis. I like all that European historical biopics kind of thing. I watch those.
Cool. So one thing that it kind of sucks is that the media is so heavy-handed the moment a politician, you know, has a failure or makes a mistake. And one thing that I really stress on this show is not to look at failure as just like a weakness, but an opportunity to see how you can grow from that, and how in being transparent about maybe a mistake or a failure or something where you felt like you let yourself down, you can change someone's life and perspective and encourage them that you're just human just like them. So can you think of a point in time where you as a politician felt like you maybe had a moment of failure, and how did you reconcile that, and how did that contribute to where you are today?
You know, that's a really good question. Certainly, I think the most poignant example for me was losing the federal election of 2011. I mean, I was GTA caucus chair. I had a safe seat. Navdeep Bains, myself, Peter Fonseca, we were told we were fine, we were safe. The other seats, not so sure. Bonnie, can you come nationally, help us campaign? You have a safe seat. And I said, I never leave my riding in an election. But the doors, that was really like you, Bonnie. Really, you work really hard for us, but this time we're not so sure.
Yeah.
Right? And it was heartbreaking. And I kept thinking, all I heard was, we like you, Bonnie. And I thought I was okay. But as it got closer to the election, it became apparent that there were changes happening, and that Jack Layton grew in popularity. That was that 2011. And when NDP and Liberals split the vote, which we did, because in my riding, NDP usually get 3,000 vote. They got 8. They got 8. So
Wow.
Liberals moved to the NDP, and I lost by 3,500. So and that was when Stephen Harper had his majority, and I really felt like a failure. I thought, I can't deliver a safe seat. I felt horrible. Oh my God. I was elected when I shouldn't have in 2008, and in 2011 I couldn't hold my seat. And I felt awful, and I really didn't know what to do at that time, because I loved what I did. I loved serving the people. I loved serving the community. As I said, I think public service is a noble profession, and I didn't know what to do. And Hazel McCallion on election night said, we have a seat open on council. You need to run for a council seat. And I thought, oh, I always considered myself a federal member, and I hadn't considered municipal politics. And I thought, I don't know what to do. I need to get a job and start contributing back to my family. And it took me a few months. That was what he lost in June, and I don't think I actually put my name on a ballot until August.
Wow.
It was one of the last days to sign up for the municipal election, and the election was in October. It just gave me a few months, and I was already, Hazel came and said, you need to run, and I said, well, who's running? Oh, only Carolyn Parrish and Eve Adams' husband and Simmer Kaur, who came second last time. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all these have big names, and who am I? I'm former federal member, one term from Streetsville. They don't even know who I am, but I'm so passionate. And I worked so hard. I knocked on so many doors. My team would say, Bonnie, it's dark. They're answering the doors in pajamas, and I'm like, let's just finish the street, guys. Finish the street. We'll come back tomorrow morning. So I worked so hard, and somehow through a lot of vote splitting, I became successful, and it really gave me a new career and a new opportunity to serve a community that really needed a lot of love and care, particularly up here in Malton. People felt neglected, and I came and I said, I'm going to be here for you. Right? We did town hall meetings every month. We created the Shinny Hockey League for the kids. I created the first BIA in 25 years in Mississauga, and I had office hours every Thursday at the community center. So you didn't have to write to me or come to City Hall. We came to you. So I really cared a lot, and people saw that. And then when Hazel retired, she tapped on me and she said, you should think about running for mayor. Of course, she probably said that to 25 other people too. Let's not fool yourself. But anyway, she, and it made a difference to me. I thought, wow, if she thinks I have what it takes to fill her shoes, wow. So maybe I shouldn't think about federal politics. I'm doing great work in Malton and Britannia. I love municipal politics. Maybe this is my path. Maybe federal was the anomaly, the aberration, and I was meant to be in municipal, and it really brought me here.
Oh, that's powerful.
Brought me here. So that's what I learned. And so I ran for mayor, and here we are.
There you go.
And so what did they say? A window closed, but a door open.
Or
right?
a setback is a setup, right?
There you go.
That's
like
awesome. So the last question before we go into rapid fire is, if you could go back in time, if you could hop in a DeLorean and go back to grade 9 and talk to grade 9 Bonnie the first day you're about to enter high school, what would you say to yourself?
I'd love to hop in a DeLorean. Be more confident. I think it took me a long time to be the person I am today, and be as assertive as I am, be as confident as I am, and get that law degree you should have got. I was always going to law school, but then I was working in business. I was married to Brian Crombie. He wanted to go get an MBA, so he went and did his. And then when it came time for us, we were on our feet again, and he said, well, you always want to get another degree. Good time now to go back to law school. But I already had Alex. Alex was a year old. I'd be a mom going to law school for 4 years, 10-year partner track. I was already in my late 20s. So 30 was on the horizon. I thought, I'm not going to spend 4 years in school now. So I did an MBA instead. 2 years, more manageable, right? Get a job right away with a better career. But, I feel like I probably should have went to law school, but right out of undergrad, I've done it right away. And somebody actually told me yesterday, I always thought you would have made a great lawyer. You would have been a great prosecutor, Bonnie. And I thought, darn, maybe I missed my calling. So should have had that law degree, I think, and really told myself to take those risks. I think as a young person, you're afraid to take risks. That's the time to take them. I took a calculated risk and put my name on a ballot. I thought, who would ever vote for me? Well, heck, apparently only 100,000 people, but
there you go. And that's what I love is that sometimes the decisions in our life aren't always so regimented and planned out, but they just unfold naturally just by taking risks and being like, this is the issue I have sometimes with people is they're so risk averse to the point it's like you want to plan, but you plan out everything to the point that you don't allow just natural things unfolding.
To unfold.
Yeah. All right. So we reached that point in the episode where it's rapid fire. I'm so excited to hear your answers. So the first thing that comes to your mind, either or, neither, whatever you want to say. You ready?
Yes.
Pepsi or Coke?
I drink water, but I used to be a Coke, what do you call it? Coke, not Zero, Diet Coke fan.
Okay.
But I think I drink water now.
Okay. Advil or Tylenol?
Oh, jeez. Both, depending.
Apple or Android?
I have Apple.
Instagram or Twitter?
Both.
If you could be any animal, what would you be?
Oh, wow. Well, I've been called a barracuda.
A barracuda. Wow.
No, I've been called a barracuda. I prefer to be a cocker spaniel, though. Oh, I don't know. Some animal that's intelligent and swift and moves fast. Giraffes are so graceful. Probably some sort of lioness, I think.
Okay. Favorite place you've traveled, local or international?
Well, I have lots of favorite places. I mean, I love Mississauga's waterfront. I love Port Credit, but I love Streetsville too. And I love coming into Malton because I have so many friends here, so many families that I adore. Internationally, I spent a year going to school at the Sorbonne in Paris. So Paris is one of my favorite cities abroad. And then, of course, with being Polish background, I love to go to Europe. So I like to see the places where my family still exists and where my mother grew up in France, and they travel through Italy in between. So those are favorite places. But I love to ski and I love to rock climb. So we ski and, be out in BC, rock climb out in Arizona. So lots of favorite places. But I have a little bit of wanderlust. I do. I've lived in some great places. So I always think that's what makes me a good mayor. I hope, because I have that vision, because I see what other cities do. I spent good time in New York. I lived in LA. I lived in Paris. I lived in Boston. I lived in Vancouver. So I know what makes a great city.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say for some crazy reason you couldn't be the mayor of the city of Mississauga. What other city in the world would you want to be the mayor for if you could?
There are other cities other than Mississauga. I really never thought of that.
What's your second choice?
Second choice? Oh, jeez, you're putting me on the spot here. Well, I can't say Toronto because all of a sudden it'll be the mayor of Mississauga is going to take over Toronto. Can't be Vancouver, right? Oh my God, I can't even pick a Canadian city.
Maybe a Polish city.
Yeah, there you go. Warsaw or something like that. I love Boston. Maybe Boston.
Yeah. Name a moment or time when you think about it, like you cringe. You're just like, you just want to like take out that memory out of your head.
There are a couple of cases with my kids who repeated things I said that they shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have said them. But cringeworthy moments. I don't know. Cringeworthy moments. I don't know. Pass.
I made some pretty horrible jokes at my valedictorian speech, so that's me. Favorite book you read or are reading?
Oh, I always have so many on the go. I really like inspirational stories, right? I like biography. So maybe let's call it Michelle Obama's Becoming right now. It's a great one. Yeah.
Favorite song right now that you're listening to?
Oh, geez. I like Chainsmokers and I like Imagine Dragons. Whatever it takes, I like. I was going to use that as a campaign theme song.
Nice. Yeah. Coolest famous person you've met to date?
Wow. Okay, well, I met Bono and
Wow.
John Bon Jovi. Does that count?
Yeah.
Who else? I've met a lot of politicians, obviously. Oh, I was our delegate to NATO conferences and UN conferences. So I met the Secretary General of the UN. That was pretty powerful.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've met popes. I've met some. I have to say, I've met some pretty people. So.
If you were gifted a basil plant, would you be down to name it Basil McCallion? I asked that for a friend. Basil. Like if you had a basil plant, would you name it Basil?
Like basil, the herb.
Yeah.
The herb, because there's a basil box.
And would you call it Basil McCallion?
Would I call it Basil? No, but it'd be a great idea, wouldn't it?
So it's a long day at council, multiple meetings. You're going to a bunch of events. What restaurant in Saga are you going to?
Oh, you got me. She's so often. So I love lots of places. Okay, but right across the street is Alioli. So we often zip over there. There's Canyon Creek, Scatterbush, Earl's, Milestones. I have a Polish restaurant, Arkady, that we go to. There's a Croatian restaurant we go to. Down in the south in Port Credit. There are so many great restaurants, right? I'll be honest, I had dinner at Time last night. There's Posta, Papa Giuseppe's, there's the Pumps. We have great restaurants here.
Yeah, we do.
We really do. And then I haven't even touched any of the ethnic restaurants, right?
True.
Oh, so many.
There's no shortage.
No shortage.
So the selfie queen over here, best tips for taking the perfect selfie.
Let someone else take
Let
it.
someone else take it.
My arms never seem to be long enough.
Most inspirational public servant in history that you respect.
Well, Hazel McCallion.
Yeah. Okay,
Hazel's
beside
gotta
Hazel.
be Hazel.
Beside Hazel.
You know, I loved, I have to say I got into politics because of Pierre Trudeau.
Me too, yeah.
You know?
I'm not in politics, but I mean, I love Pierre Trudeau.
I loved Pierre Trudeau, and I think, John Chrétien did an amazing job, Paul Martin, and Justin's doing a great job. So those are Canadian politicians. I have so much respect for President Obama and Bill Clinton before him. I like what Emmanuel Macron's trying to do in France. He's gotten a lot of hurdles right now, but he's great. He's trying his best. So there are some great leaders internationally as well.
If you had to sing a song line for line to save your life, what song is that?
Well, I know the lyrics to some of the songs. What you shouldn't do is ask me to sing. I just be honest with you. I'm not a very good singer. Maybe in the shower, in the car when I'm alone, but not publicly. I dance though. But we used to sing Taxi.
Yeah.
It was raining hard in Frisco.
So that's gonna save your life.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
If you
Or
could,
American Pie or something like that, or
If you-
Bohemian Rhapsody. That's a great movie.
yeah.
I saw that on a plane recently. Great movie.
If you could go back to a single point in your life, just to relive it for one day, what day would that be?
Just like to feel it again.
Yeah.
To feel maybe the mayoral day when I ran my mayoral campaign. I wouldn't want to relive the defeat of 2011. That was even the results were coming in. I was finding I couldn't. It was it was a tough day.
Yeah. If there was a movie on your life, what would the title read?
Man, it'd be boring. Born to Run.
Born to Run. All
Born
right.
to Run.
And if they couldn't get you to play you, who would you want to play you? An actor.
Isn't that an interesting question? I don't know. Oh, geez, some blonde actress. Can you name any right now? Like a Laura Dern. Who else does Gwyneth Paltrow? No. I don't know. Something.
Name a song that when you hear it, it just puts you in your feelings. Like you just automatically just start getting emotional.
Emotional?
Yeah. Or like the way I usually say it on the show is the type of feelings I'm saying is you think about like that ex-girlfriend or boyfriend that
Oh my
broke your
God.
heart.
So you like think I feel feelings or something.
You don't?
I have a lot of empathy feelings. I feel for my kids. I feel feelings. Oh, so you're taking me back in time to like what its triggers me. I don't know.
If so, the breakup song, if you listen to it, it's Marvin's Room by Drake. That's the one that gets everyone in their feelings. So
well, there you
need
go.
to listen
I'll
to
have
that.
to listen to that. Okay. There might be something from my generation 30 years ago, the equivalent of that, but I don't know.
If you were stranded on an island, what 2 things would you want with you?
My mascara and lipstick.
My mascara and lipstick. My sister's like in the corner, like yes.
we play that game with my kids. If you're stranded on a desert island, which country's food would you want access to? Only one country. Only one country.
Oh my gosh.
Which country?
I'm
You can only
torn
have
because
one.
I'm Guyanese and Portuguese. And
Oh
like,
my
if I say
gosh.
it's a political answer right here.
There you go.
I say Portuguese food made by my Guyanese mother. How about that?
There you go. There you go.
When you die, last one, what would you want your biggest legacy that you leave behind to be? When people remember Bonnie, what would you want them to say about you?
I would want them to say that I was a people person, that I was a people's mayor, that I was very competent, I was a very good fiscal manager. So I want that combination of being respected by people and liked by people, but not liked to the degree that I wasn't able to make the hard decisions, make the decisions that need to be made, that they were the right decisions in the interest of the city for everybody. Maybe not always politically popular, but you had to do them because they're the right thing to do. Frankly, like this governance review, not everyone's going to love it, but at the same time, it's the right thing to do for Mississauga. So I want them to respect me, that I'm a community person. I come out to all their events. They like me. That's great. We do selfies with people people's mayor, yes, but what I prefer to be remembered for is just the competent mayor, the woman who came after Hazel McCallion. You know, we never thought anybody could take over, but she did a pretty good job too. You know.
All right, so you survived rapid fire, so it's that point in the episode where it's guest corner. So if there's anything you want to shout out or anything coming up, or maybe just one last bit of encouragement to our listeners and viewers, the mic is yours.
Yeah, well, certainly this is a great opportunity to learn more about Mississauga, myself, and it's been a great discussion. I want to thank you. I know this will air in the month of May, so I just want to say May is a great month in Mississauga. The third week is always Carasaga. We have 19 pavilions featuring 32 different cultures. Get out to Mississauga to either the Paramount Fine Food Center on the lot there. There are, I think, 19 pavilions, or majority of the pavilions are right on the lot. The rest of them are all in our community centers. Get out to that. And then it launches our festival season, and you can enjoy a festival in Mississauga every weekend, whether at Celebration Square or in Streetsville. We'll have the Bread and Honey Festival. And in Port Credit, we will have Busker Fest, the Southside Shuffle, and the Waterfront Festival. All kinds of festivals, no matter what part of the city you're in. If you're in the downtown, it could be Polish Heritage Day, Ukrainian Heritage, Halal Fest, Mosaic, Bollywood Monster Mashup, the Filipino Kalian Festival. Every weekend, a different festival. You can hear great music, see dance, culture, and of course the food, right? The food of every one of our fantastic diverse communities, and sampling their food. So come out in May to Carasaga, and then look for all the festivals across the city.
Awesome. And we'll drop everything down in the description. You can always check the mayor's website for all events and stuff like that. So just before we go, one thing I like to do on my show is give you guys a word of encouragement, because sometimes you are so zoned in and sometimes you don't always take the time just to hear it. But now that you're in my studio, I just have to say first that I think you're one of like the most approachable, not just mayors, but politicians, public figures that I know, in the sense that like you go to so many places and like you are the same person publicly that you are privately, I believe. And even when you go, like, you're so personable and you make the time, like you're driving in your personal car, you're not coming in with like, you know, Escalades and like this whole like procession. You're coming and you're just being real, and I appreciate that about you. I think your ambition and your passion for your work, like you aren't a passive mayor. You are a mayor that'll go internationally and try to bring foreign business and develop us economically. I feel like sometimes politicians, like, they don't access their skill sets, and you're bringing a plethora of like, business mindset, investment, international relations. Like, so we have a very competent mayor, and I'm proud of that. You're setting a prime example for women everywhere to not just, continually break barriers, but to just unapologetically be you and be dope and excel where you're at. So I love that. I love your ability to also not be like a yes man type person, but your ability to challenge the status quo. And sometimes, like you said, you got to make those hard decisions. And I know even like when there was like those Uber talks and all that kind of stuff, like it's tough. And like even when people were just being like racist and all this kind of stuff in certain things, like you took a strong stance, and I like that, because sometimes people will just try to be so passive to the sense to appease everyone, but you will have those moments where you do that. The fact that you're a doer, like I'm a doer, I like getting things done, and you do that. But just genuinely, like, I think you just have a genuine heart for what you do in the community, and that I think exudes out of everything that you do. And you see sometimes people who do things for selfish gain, but I can see that your heart is in this. And like, there's no other person that I think I'd be confident. I mean, I knew about Hazel, but like, I know more about you. Like, I know you are my mayor, you were my councillor, and like, I know that. And I think you are definitely going to be bringing a legacy that's going to be powerful, carrying us to the next phase. I'm excited to see you get reelected multiple times, and hopefully we can have you as long as possible. But I just wanted to thank you so much for coming out to the show today. This is the people's mayor, because she's in my living room right now, and we're just chilling and we're talking. And
it's a beautiful living room, by the way, folks.
Thanks to my mom. But Bonnie, I just want to thank you for being here today, and this is us signing out.
Take
care, guys.